Hi everyone, welcome to another Across the Obelisks video. Today we are talking about the new patch, which came out yesterday, along with the new DLC, Nenukil, and the Obsidian Uprising, both of which I have really enjoyed playing. I streamed all of yesterday and played a bunch of it and really enjoyed myself. I think there's some cool new items we get to explore. Nenukil is a really fun character. He's interesting, and I'm going to love exploring the different ways in which he can play. So to start off, let's get into the Nenukil as a character and what I think of him after playing for about 12 hours with him. So what I think about him so far is that I have really liked his defensive side, and I found his attacking side a little bit lacking in my first attempt. I've only basically did on one long run with him on the with using this left side, and one long run using the right side. I think that he can be or will be very good on the left side. He will be able to carry quite well, in part because he has a bunch of stuff that gives him Fury, and Fury is just a huge damage buff if you just play him normally. The way I was trying to play him was using Fast, and I don't think that is quite the way to do it. So I wanted to try, though, because he's sort of set up that way. At least on Madness 16, you need a little bit more damage than what just the Fast gives you, along with like the Fury and that stuff. So I was lacking a bit of damage on that side, but I think it eventually can be okay, but I'll have to sort of tinker around and find what's good. His other side, though, the defensive side, I find is actually incredibly good. Like, I liked it from the right when I started, and it felt really nice to play with. And so let's talk about that side first, along with his passive. So his passive is Loaded Gun. At the start of your turn, you reduce the cost of ranged attacks in your hand by 2 until they're discarded. And when you play a ranged attack, you suffer reloading, which reloading makes it so that you are unable to play another one. So basically, you can only play one ranged attack a turn, but it's free or cost reduced depending on the cost. So with his starting deck, he starts with all these gunshots and burning shot. These are all going to be either 0 cost or 1 cost when you play them. And it's pretty nice to then just have free damage. If you look at all the other characters, or free energy on your turn. If you look at all the other characters, no one has an innate talent that gives them energy, other than Wilbur, who energizes one person a turn. So that's 1 energy introduced into your team a turn, where Nenukil introduces 2 to himself every turn, which is pretty good. And obviously there's a downside where if you draw too many ranged attacks, then you're sort of stuck with a bunch of ranged attacks in your hand that you can't play. But that sort of incentivizes you to deck build him in a certain way so that you have some range attacks, so that you hopefully have one in your hand every turn, but not too many that you are overloaded. So I like the sort of deck building constraints like that, where it makes me think about what I'm adding to the decks and how I build my decks. So I do like that part of him, and I think it's a fun sort of thematic way where he gets 1 shot each turn, and then everything else he's doing sort of follows after that. And yeah, I think it's pretty fun. You do get to adjust that a little bit with Double Barrel, where it ups it to 2 attacks per turn, and it gives you some other benefits, but we'll talk about that in a second. The side I really like is his defensive side. His first level up is Proximity Mines, which this is a weird one, since it's an enchantment that you can use on anyone. So you can use it on yourself, you can use it on your allies, and it increases Thorn's charge by 1. And then when you're hit, it has 2 charges. Hit by somebody else, you deal some burn damage, some fire damage, and apply some burn to the enemy that hit you. It's kind of strange because most of these just go away, but this one is kind of nice. I played a comp yesterday where I was using Nenukil as a sort of damage-based support through Thorns, and we had Bree on our team, and this was awesome. We used it on Nenukil himself a lot, and then we swapped it over to Bree, and even in like the fight against the twins later on, we were able to use it to knock off their enchantment debuffs that were on us and that kind of thing. It was really nice. So it increases thorns. The best way of applying thorns that scouts have are caltrops. They buffed caltrops like a ton. It's now once it's upgraded, and he starts with 2 of these in his deck, so he can start with 3 total. Once it's upgraded to the blue version, which I think is the better one by far, it gives block to all heroes and 2 thorns, which with perks is 13 block and 3 thorns on your whole team for 1 energy. It is an incredible card. This card is amazing and definitely is, I think, probably the best card in his starting deck. And it really works with everything else he's doing. So the proximity mines make it really nice, since there's then 4 thorns on everyone. And you can really stack up thorns on your whole team, and it's a very good source of damage. If we look at the run I was doing yesterday, just to take a quick gander at what the team kind of looks like that is doing this, we have Nenukil here doing Thorns stuff, and he basically is playing these every turn and giving us all block and Thorns. And over the course of the run, we dealt about half our damage from Nenukil. He's dealt 20k so far. Has been Thorns damage. So that's pretty sweet. I think it is a lot of fun to play this style, and I think they made Thorns pretty interesting. Oh, I went back in here. Whoops. I think it makes Thorns pretty interesting, and I think a really fun play style. I also think just he's going to be a pretty good support doing this side. Just by having defensive cards, 13 block on everyone for 1 is super efficient. And if you get any block cards, anything that increases the block that you add, it's just that much more efficient and effective in the game. And it's a very good source of damage early. Like, people hit into it all the time. It really makes Yelmer pretty easy, the first and one of the harder bosses in the game. I think it helps out with that fight a lot, because you can stack up quite a lot of thorns, and then he will die either like pretty quickly once you have the thorns stacked up, because he hits everyone a bunch of times. Second up is Mounted Cannons, which is an interesting ability. We'll go look at that run again just so we can take a look. This is when you play a defense card that costs energy, so anything 1 or more, you put a blast card in your hand. And so if we exit out, and I'll show you what the blast cards do and how they play. So in this run, we have him playing a bunch of defense cards every turn. And if we look at his Vanish pile, he has all of these blast cards, because he's getting a bunch of these every turn, like 5 a turn a lot of the turns. These are sort of like Deja Vu from Priests, where they deal X damage and apply X burn, where X is equal to your Vanish pile. So it sort of lets him play defensive stuff, defensive cards, a bunch of caltrops and other sort of cheap defensive cards, and then still be dealing damage, because he's then able to transform those cards into these blasts, which deal quite a lot of damage. Once, like, we have 42 cards vanish, so each of these is doing 42 damage and applying 42 burn at the moment. So it's pretty sweet. Currently, in this setup, we have him with a Volcanic Axe, so it transforms that damage to burn. So these now deal burn damage, or fire damage, and then also apply extra burn. And so you can really stack up and deal damage over time. And I think if you give him extra, like, bless and powerful and that kind of stuff, and he will deal just a lot of damage with these. And so I really like that aspect of his deck and how you play it. I love Deja Vu. It's one of my favorite cards, and so having another sort of way that plays similarly is a lot of fun. It lets you sort of build your decks in interesting ways too, where Vanish cards are a little bit more valuable, that kind of thing. Then up next is Repair Kit. This gives +8 block charges for the next 6 defenses whenever you play one. A random hero heals 15% HP, and a random hero gets block, regen, and fortify or reinforce. This is good. I do think it's a little bit worse than some of the other ones like this. A lot of the time when it's like a random hero, that is often so on some of them it's the most damaged hero, right? So like when Reggie plays a spell, it's then giving bless to the most damaged hero, and then maybe you can heal them up a little bit easier. And so this one, because it's random, it can go onto not the person you want, but because there's 6 charges, you get a lot of effect from the extra block charges, and then most of the time it's gonna be fairly helpful. It'll heal up your team and be pretty good. So I've found this fine, but not like amazing. It's not something like Breeze, where like Breeze over here, Command and Conquer. This one is just a bonkers thing, right? Like it gives everyone mitigate and vitality, and it heals everyone. And this is just insanely good, whereas this is sort of just okay on Nenukil. But like that's fine. That's okay. They put power in different places. Like mounted cannons is better than most of Breeze stuff options. So this is pretty good. And then Exoskeleton, he doesn't have an energy talent earlier other than his loaded gun. So this one is sort of an extra energy talent, where when you play a defense card that costs energy, which you're doing that with like the Caltrops and other stuff like that, you refund 1 energy and gain a Fortify, and that happens 2 times a turn. I think this is quite good at the end of the game. Just giving him some extra energy is nice, and then also the Fortify is good if you are doing the Fortify stacking on him, where it increases his fire damage. This will also then increase the damage if you of your blasts from mounted cannons, whether you transform your damage to burn, or it just they base deal blunt damage, so that will also increase your damage with the Fortify perk. So that one's a really nice perk to take on him if you are using this side of the setup. So yeah, that's his defensive side. I think it's quite good. We'll talk about some of the defensive cards that they changed on Scout in just a second. But I like this side a lot. His other side is the damage side. He has extra gunpowder, all damage plus 25%. When you play ranged attack, draw 2 cards. This one reminds me a little bit of Magnus's, right? Magnus has his Thunder Clap, all damage plus 200%, and then when you play an attack, deal extra damage, right? This is often used when not playing attacks, so I think they sort of played it a little safe with extra gunpowder by only having it plus 25%, because they don't want you to play this and then just decide that the 25% is worth having on all your melee attacks, and just never play a ranged attack again. Now, maybe that's maybe that's how you should play it. I'm not 100% sure, but I do think you're sort of wasting a lot of value if you decide to not use loaded gun. So I do think most of the time I will be using this, but we'll test it out. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it is fine. Like, you basically play it, you'll get an extra damage for a turn or 2, and draw some cards. I think it's pretty good. And then Double Barrel is a big one for how he's going to deal damage. When you play a ranged attack, gain 2 Fury and 1 Fast. You suffer reloading after playing 2 ranged attacks instead of 1. So basically, you get to stack up Fury on yourself along with Fast. The fast stacking thing with Rocket Boots is kind of interesting. So this is his starting item. Fast on this hero can stack, but loses all charges at the end of the turn. Or at the start of the turn, sorry, not the end of the turn. So a lot of his cards, like the first time I played him, where I was playing hit and run with the perk, this adds 2 fast, and so like each hit and run that you play, he starts with 4 of them, deals a little bit more damage, right? Because he's stacking up fast with each one he plays, and so often you'd like use your double-barreled, you shoot, and then you get to use some hit and runs to then like hit, get really fast, and then you'll be really fast for the next turn, but then at the start of your turn you lose your speed and you have to then stack it up again on your next turn. I actually like the playstyle, how it played. I just think that the hit and runs don't deal quite enough damage, at least how I was playing it. I wasn't using Sharp, I wasn't using Bless, and so I think if you do use Sharp as a sort of stopgap, I think it will help you to have enough damage. Like if somebody else is giving him Sharp, maybe you could have some Sharp in his own deck. You could have somebody giving him Bless, and maybe that'll push you over the edge for having enough damage with him while using this playstyle. At least on Madness 16, lower Madness levels or base level, you'll definitely have enough damage with it. It'll be fine. Next up after that is Fast and the Furious. This one, you just get 2 base speed, which is kind of interesting. It then increases your Fury charges and your Fast charges, and the next 6 melee attacks you play will give you Fast and Fury, which is then buffed by both your perks and your this. So when you play a melee attack, you'll get like 3 speed or 3 Fast and 3 Fury, which is pretty good. Like, I think it will be effective for what you're trying to do, whether or not you really care about the speed, right? Part of the problem with the speed, too, is there's a bunch of enemies in the game that target the fastest enemy with slowing effects, whether it's a actual slow or whether it is a shackle. And whenever that happens, then all of the cards that are based off your speed then deal no damage, which is really bad. And especially at the beginning of the game, there's a lot of corn enemies and trees, and they all shackle the fastest enemy. So it means that, like, especially then when you sort of need the damage more, these are you're speeding yourself up, but then you're also making yourself a like huge target for these effects that will slow you down, which is kind of sad when you're playing him that way. You can sort of add some cards into your deck to remove shackle if you get any evasion remove shackle, so that's one way of trying to deal with it. There's some blurs that you can buy that are cheap that add evasion, stealth, and that will remove shackle if that's happening a lot. But yeah, it's I think mostly how this. Oh yeah, and then his final one is all damage plus 20%, immune to slow. I think it should also be shackle, but it isn't. And then fast on the hero increases all damage by 1 per charge. This is fine, but you're sort of jumping through a lot of hoops to get flat damage, which, like, if you think about this, Magnus gets a talent that is just plus 7 damage, always. And this, you need at least 7 fast to be equal with that. And you obviously can go above it. You can get more damage than that, but it's definitely not quite. It's not like amazing. It's fine, and I'm excited to actually play it and find a way to make it work. But it's just sort of fine for a final talent. So we'll see how well it does. I'm sure I'll have a run with him where we do this and it works. But I think it's gonna need some help for sure. Overall, how I like him, how he plays, and how he feels. I've really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see how he continues to play out. The pet that they introduced with him, we'll take a look at that too, because it sort of is a lot of how his play style feels. Floaty uses. I guess my camera is in the way here. 1 second. Let's see. Okay, so floaty with this shot, deterrent shot, it purges taunt, which is doesn't come up super often, but there are some enemies where it does, and it can be helpful for sure. The big one is purging the powerful and turning it into fast on yourself. This can be super helpful in some fights. Against Yelmer, it's really quite good. He has a bunch of turns where he gains 8 powerful, and right before, on all the turns right before he does his big laser, his solar beam thing, you can purge that off of him, purge the powerful off of him, and so his attacks are going to be dealing way less damage than they otherwise would have. It also gives him fast, which can increase his damage on that side. So Floaty is a pretty cool pet. It does cost 744, so one of the more expensive pets. But I think it is quite good in certain situations, right? Sometimes it's going to be kind of useless, but it is kind of cool that we have a blunt damage pet now. I don't know if there's any others that did blunt damage. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think there were. And so it's cool that there is one now, and I think that'll be fun to use in the future and find other characters other than Nenukil that like to use it. So yeah, I think he'll be a fun character. We'll be playing a lot with him in the next little bit, and yeah, we'll get back to our normal runs soon. One thing that I wanted to do along with this, they changed some cards with this patch that I wanted to go over. So I'm just going to go over those in alphabetical order as they're listed on the patch notes, and we'll chat a little bit about those. One thing they did is they made Archon have 15% less health on Madness 16, which is fine. I think that fight sort of drags a little bit once you sort of feel like you've won it, and so 15% less health is fine. You could have it have more, you could have it have less. I don't know that it changes how often you win that often, so that's fine. But we'll now move on to our... Oh, and then I guess the one other thing, they made it so that some of the bosses in the middle of the acts also can be weakened. Not the end bosses, so Yelmer and any of the final bosses of each act, those can't be weakened, but the ones in the middle, so like Yager or Belfour in Act 1, those can now be weakened. I don't think it'll come up much, because there are just not that many cards that add weak, and they're sort of high rarity, so you won't get them till later. And then later, there aren't as many sort of bosses that you run into that aren't the final act bosses. But I think it'll be fine. And it buffs weak a little bit, so that's kind of cool. Okay, so first on offer here that was changed is Blade Flurry. Blade Flurry is pretty great now. So they changed this yellow version to now give Fury. And in the past, scouts did not have a way to gain Fury, and this now gives them very easy access to it. Blade Flurry is a uncommon card that you can buy in the Act 1 town, and you can upgrade it there too. So you can have this from the beginning of the act on any scout now. And this is pretty crazy. If you think about it, with the Fury perk, so +1 Fury, and this card, when you play it, you will gain 6 Fury, just baseline, because it's 2 per hit and it hits 3 times. And then if you also take the talent with that, then that is 5% damage for each Fury perk you get. So you'll get 30% damage by playing this card on everything else you get. And then it's even more the second time you play it, and so on and so forth. So, just having this as a card is, I think, going to change how you play scouts a lot. I think it makes Thuls and Andrin a bit better because they have ways of discounting melee attacks, and this is a very good one now that you can use with things like ambidextrous and whatnot to gain a bunch of fury, where otherwise there really wasn't a good way for them to get fury. So I think that changes scouts quite a lot. I think it's a very good card now. You should try it out and use it in your runs. Next up, we have Burning Shot. They changed this one. Nenukil starts with one of these. It deals damage based on how twice your speed. Now, this card, I think, is okay on him. I think it's like kind of good. It only costs 1 since he's reducing it, or 0 if you have it upgraded. But 2 times your speed is pretty good, and this version also applies burn, and so I like pretty easily you can get up to, you can like use a bunch of the fast attacks and then get up to quite a bit of speed and then use this, and you could apply a bunch of burn and deal a good chunk of damage. I think this card is good on Nenukil. I don't know that anyone else would use it. Once you start stacking Fortify, maybe this version's better. If you have Heiner on your team and he's stacking Fortify, this might be better than the fast version, just because sometimes Heiner stacks like 40 Fortify on you, and you're doing well there. So I'm not sure if anyone else will use this, but I think it'll be useful on Nenukil. We talked about Caltrops earlier. It's amazing. Play it, try it out. It's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. Charge. They changed, which is a warrior card. The blue version, let's see, charge blue version upgrade increased fast to 2 from 1. This card still seems very bad. I don't see myself playing it very often. They added a bunch of priest cards that deal fire damage. They added the fire spell tag to those. That's fine. That doesn't change those much, but it maybe helps them a little bit. So you can use some of the fire items with them, which makes sense to have those that way. It's Death Coil. They increased the scaling on this a little bit. It's not very much, and I would still probably not play this. Yeah. Probably won't be playing that almost ever, so I don't think it's very good. Disengage is a scout card that they changed the rarity on. They made it more rare. Kind of confused by this one. I didn't buy this very often. I guess they didn't want it in the opening store on M16. Maybe they thought it was a better card than it is. I think it's fine. I don't think I will be taking it very often, and it being rare means I'll probably take it less than I used to, because occasionally I would buy this in Act 1 and upgrade it so that we could get Stanza with it, but that was like a long time ago. I haven't done that in a long time, so not really something that I see myself using. Explosive Shot is new. It deals damage based on your speed, and it deals that same damage to both sides. It is very expensive. I maybe could see playing this. It is very expensive, though, so, like, maybe. If you are getting super fast, so if you have the burn on yourself increases your speed and the other kind of stuff, maybe this is good enough. My guess is it's too expensive to cast most of the time on M16, but it's an interesting card. I might try. I'll definitely try it out when we get to it, but yeah, I think that's fine. Let's see, Evanescence. They nerfed this a little bit, which I'm a little confused by. I didn't think it was a very good card to start with. So I'm not sure why it was nerfed. It's fine, but it doesn't give you your energy back. So, I mean, it's okay, but I don't think it needed a nerf. So, I didn't take it very often, but maybe it's maybe that's fine. Feint is a this upgrade now can target heroes, whereas before it was always just self. I do think this could see play. I could see like one of these in Nenukil's deck. You don't want to play a bunch, because once you get more than... Like, you can always play this as your last card, and then the discard aspect of it isn't taken into account, because you can still discard... You can still play this as if this is your last card in your hand, or if you've just out of energy, then it doesn't really matter. So, I think it's fine. It also, like, he's going to have ranged attacks in his hand occasionally that you can't play anyway, so... Feint is, I think, an okay card. I don't know how often you're going to have shield charges on your scout, but maybe it could be a little bit better. But even just with the block charges, it's a fair amount of block for 0 cost, which is probably fine if you want to have one of them in your deck. So, hit and run. This is the one we talked about earlier. I think this card just doesn't deal enough damage. I think if this version was 1-to-1 ratio with your speed, it would maybe be good. I mean, you like compare this to a card like like Quick Shot. I mean, just looking at Quick Shot, right? 11. It deals 11 damage. So for this, hit and run to deal 11 damage, you need to have 22 speed, which is like pretty fast. You can get above that, but just to be Quick Shot, which is like not a good card, you have to be 22 speed. And to be like any better than Quick Shot, you have to be a lot faster than that. So it just doesn't really scale like you really want it to. And Nenukil, who is the main one who I would see using these, at 22 speed, if it were just 1-to-1, like obviously that's pretty good damage for 1 energy. Let's see. Let me just go back to it. But costing 2 is quite a lot, and he doesn't have good ways of reducing the cost of his melee attacks. So like you would just be paying 2 energy for this, which I think is kind of difficult to do, unless you are giving him just all the energy, and even then it's kind of difficult. So I don't think this is very good. You should probably just give him some sharp, and he'll deal more damage with other attacks. Yeah, that is where that ends up, and I'll be playing with these more for sure, just to see how I feel about it, but at the moment it doesn't seem great. One other thing, they nerfed Necropotence. This nerf was deserved. This was, I think, maybe before this, it was like, I think what I thought was maybe the best card in the game. It's incredible. I think it's still good. But I don't know that it's like, I don't know. It's probably not quite where I had it before in just basically taking it every time. I think I'd probably take it most of the time now, but there might be places I don't. So we'll see with that one. But it was very good, so I can see why they nerfed it. They changed parry. It's now epic instead of rare, which I think is a bad idea. I don't get why they did this. I think the cards like this that sort of are interesting and fun, like could be an interesting way to build. Being epic is kind of crazy to me, because like why? I just want to, like, if I want to play with the card. And making it epic means I just get to play with it so much less often. Like, it's not like a crazy, cool, flashy card. It's like, okay, this is a card that, like, does a thing that's kind of interesting. It's like it gives, like, this version, just self is kind of whatever. This version, where it gives another hero block and another hero fortify, pretty good. It is expensive though, so I mean, it's like it's expensive and it's like super. It's like way rarer than it used to be. So I don't understand this change, but it is here. I don't think I'll play with it very often, just because I'm not gonna buy it, and it's gonna show up for me way less often than it might have before. So kind of sad about that one. Even though I do think it's kind of interesting, the version that gives it to the other hero. I mean, that's a lot of block and some fortify and whatnot, and it's kind of cool that rogues or scouts can give fortify to other characters now and whatnot. So wish it were less rare and maybe one less expensive to make it more of a card that might get played. But now we get to look at maybe the worst card in the game now. Puncture is awful. Like, just really bad. It costs 3. And it deals damage equal to the difference between your speed and the target speed. It's so bad. Like, for a 3-cost card, it's gonna... Like, let's say you've been shackled. You're at 0. The enemies are at 20. You deal 20 damage and add 20 bleed for 3, which is not good. Or you could deal 40 damage and apply 40 bleed for, like, 4 energy? That's so much. When you could, like, have 5 sharp and play a dual strike, like, and deal the same amount of damage. So it's like, this card is absurd, and that's like the best case scenario for it. That's like, you are insanely slow, and they are like 20 speed or whatever, like normal speed. If let's say you go insanely fast, you're at 50. Well, you probably aren't getting 50 until you're a fair amount later in the run. So now the enemies are at 20 or 25 or 30, depending on the run or the fight. And so this now deals like 30 damage and 30 bleed. And the fail case is that it does nothing. That you're like the same speed as the enemies, which is what you're going to be most of the time that you're not shackled. You're like around 20, they're around 20. Maybe it's like 10. Oh, it's just, this card is awful. Don't play it. Try to avoid it. It is really bad. I wish it were different. I wish this were different, but it is terrible. Purge the Wicked is, oh, they nerfed one of Laya's cards a little bit. It's fine. Doesn't really change much. Recurring Nightmare is now rare or epic instead of rare. Recurring Nightmare was the best mage card in the game, probably, or the best mage damage dealing card in the game. I basically bought it in every run on a mage damage dealer. It's very good, so I get why they upgraded the cost or the rarity of this one. This one makes sense. It's like, basically, once you got this, then you didn't need other damage cards, and so I think that changing this to a different, making it more rare is fine. That one makes sense to me. The other thing they did, another change, was Spiked Shield is now a little bit better. I don't know how much better it is, but it gives you a little bit more block than it used to be, or than it used to. So that's fine. It's still not a very good card. It's fine. I had it in my Laya deck for a lot of the run. It was okay. Not very good, but okay. And then they changed Stone Skin, which is a scout card, to give block, fortify, and thorns. You can overcharge it if you want for a bunch of thorns. This version is kind of interesting. If you have just a bunch of extra energy, you can dump it into here. Now, I don't think that's going to happen very often. The other version, you can gain fortify with it. Kind of interesting. So I think Stone Skin their copies start in the Nenukil's deck, and I think this card is fine. I left them in for the whole run, and they were they're okay. They proc his defensive stuff, so I think they work okay for that. So those are all the card changes. And I think those are pretty fun. Like, I think there are some fun things. I think there are some strange things to me. But Nenukil overall, I think, is a fun character, and I am going to have a ton of fun exploring how he plays and, like, the best ways to use him in the future. But off the bat, my sort of initial thoughts are his defensive side seems quite good. His offensive side seems doable, but, like, not in the way that I had initially tried with the fast stuff. Probably just, like, put in some good attacks. Like, if you want, like, good... I think, like, one thing that you can think about with his setup is you can take a look at the ranged attacks. I think, like, the best ranged attacks you can get for him are maybe, like, Poison Spray. This with some Sharp or some Bless. Like, you're dealing quite a lot of damage for free with this. It hits a bunch of times. Multi-Shot is another one that could be good. Plague Shot is one that I'm going to try in the future with, like, certain builds. So things that cost 2, I think, are ideal. And you can obviously have other things in your deck too, but sort of just to change it depending on what's going on. Shrapnel Shot, like, maybe this is a build with adding Crack. I could see this being kind of cool for that. But it is a rare, like, to upgrade it to this. So yeah, I think there's some ways of playing him that are going to be a lot of fun, and we'll see how that feels along the way. Now, the new act, or the new area that they introduced, let me actually pull that up. So give me 1 second, and we can pull up the zone. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so there's the Obsidian Uprising area. So this is the new play zone that you can go into. If you go into Valkrath, you can then enter this zone, and there's some cool stuff. I really like the building your own pet. I think it's a lot of fun. You can sort of adjust it to whatever sort of play style you're using, and I think it's really interesting to play that, or to, like, build it and decide what you want. I'm sure there's going to be ones that are best for certain characters and stuff like that. There's one that gives additional Thorns charges. There's one that gives additional block charges. There's some cool different attacks that you can use it for. So I think it's a neat thing that you can put together and, like, create a nice pet for free. Along with this area, they also released a bunch of new items, which we'll go over in a second. They released some new enemies. So the new enemies here, I had some fun playing against, seeing how these different enemies interact with you. And the new boss is pretty fun. You have this giant machine that is fighting you, and it summons and uses mechanics that then fix it up and heal it, and it's a fun little mechanic there. So I found that this fight was pretty entertaining, and I liked playing through it. So it was really funny when we were doing our Thorns run, and he has a Gatling gun, and he just shot 7 times or 8 times into our team and basically killed himself. It was that was one of my favorite moments. Along with the new stuff, along with that are some new items. Blunderbuss is one of them. Pretty good item on Nenukil, and might be good on other characters. Oh, my camera is now in the way of this, so let me move these. Okay. So Blunderbuss gives you blunt and burn charge, or blunt and fire damage, and then burn and crack charges. And when you play a ranged attack once per turn, you get to draw a card. A pretty decent item for him. Nothing super special. The corrupted version, a little bit better. So then the dynamite, we got to play with this on Heiner. I think this will be a decent card on like a tank that is it's a weapon, so you get to put it in your weapon slot. Often your tanks aren't using that very effectively, so having a thing that then deals some extra damage based on the based on how much your card costs is pretty cool. I do think that the fact that this isn't all enemies is sort of a flavor fail. It's dynamite. It explodes. It should hit everything. Or a couple of things. I don't know. But it's a cool item. We had it on Heiner. It was okay, but we didn't really have the perks to make it really good. We weren't really dealing that much fire damage, so it didn't really get a place to shine, but I think it will in the future. Machine oil is the best item of the bunch that you can get through going through this zone. Freezing ink in the past is one of the best items that you can get. Machine oil is very similar, right? 3 times a turn when you play a book, you deal burn damage to all enemies and apply burn to all enemies. So not only are you hitting them for damage with each book, you're also applying a debuff that makes them take more damage from the damage you're dealing. So burn, since it reduces their resistance to burn damage, it will make it so that the next time you play your second book and your third book, it'll deal even more damage. This damage is increased by Powerful and Bless and Fortify and the Fortify stacking perk and all of that. And so this is going to be a very good item. It will be incredible on Cornelius. It will be incredible on like Eve. I'm going to be doing a run later after I finish recording this with doing a chill burn comp where this is going to be very good. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to use. Freezing ink is one of the best items in the game. This is definitely going to be one of the best items in the game. Following up after that. Next up, we have what else was there that was added? We added and machine oil is guaranteed by going through that act, the zone. So that's kind of cool. They also added Dwarven Helmet, which is an interesting item. Kind of weird, but kind of cool. Dwarven Helmet gives 21% resist, which is a lot. 10 block charges and a fortify charge. It increases the cost of all of your defense cards in hand by 1 until discarded. So it's hard to use because like increasing the cost of your cards is a pretty huge debuff. Like that's pretty rough. But like it does have really good resist. It has defense or block charges and fortify charges. The place I see using this the most is probably with Heiner. If I'm doing a build where I'm using his left side where he's doing a bunch of attacks, he has a thing where whenever he plays an attack, he gains block, and so with those builds, I'm not often using defense cards. I'm using mostly attacks to get him to build up blocks so that he can tank and whatnot. This does not affect that. This just gives him 10 extra block charges on each of those attacks, which is really sweet, and gives some good resistance too. So this is, I think, most of the time worse than the wall. Like if you go way back here, the wall right here, right, is 8 charges and 1 fortify. It gives you minus speed, but it has more resist. So I think the wall is in general going to be better for your, like if you're doing it. But obviously the this Dwarven Helmet you get in the new zone, so you get all the other sort of goodies from the new zones, like machine oil. You can't go to the place where you get the wall in the same run, so it might fit in somewhere like that. Outside of that, we have, I don't know if there's any other, this is an old one that I just haven't gotten. Oh yeah, there are rocket boots. You can find these in the Rift Zone. They drop there, so you can corrupt Nenukil's rocket boots if you go there, and which is kind of fine. I do wish, one thing about Nenukil that I wish was different was that this was just part of his passive, so that you don't have to like retain these boots for the whole run, basically. It is a little bit sad that you basically lose an armor slot if you're playing with this fast stacking stuff. I just kind of wish it was like part of his passive or something like that, or maybe one of the level ups could have it where it starts doing this. So yeah, there's also turbo boots, which you can find, which are the same thing but a little bit better, which is kind of boring, but I guess it is what it is. Turbo boots, like yeah, you can get the corrupted ones. They're fine. Rings. Were there any new rings? Oh yeah, I think there was a new ring, but maybe there wasn't. Let's, no, I don't think so. Oh yeah, there is this new blueprints. We took this. This is going to be okay sometimes. The corrupted version is obviously better, but, like, it's not amazing. But if you need powerful, that's a way to get it, and the buffer charges will occasionally be helpful. And outside of that, I think that is all. Oh no, the sidearm. Sidearm whenever you play a melee attack, put a gunshot in your hand. This is not a ranged attack, so whoops. This is not a ranged attack, so you can with Nenukil use it past his limit on ranged attacks. This one's fine. I mean, it's like some extra damage. It's a little bit better than a slingshot. Like, slingshot just deals the damage randomly, and it's a little bit less. But they're comparable, and this one requires you to play a melee attack. But they're fine. The corrupted version, a little bit better, gives you all damage. But still just once a turn, so I would take that sometimes, and it'd be fine. And oh, we missed one. There was a thorns item. Oops. Screwdriver is another new one. Twice per turn when you play a skill, gain some thorns. If it's corrupted, you get extra thorns charges, and so this one kind of cool. You get to just get some extra thorns along the way. So if you are doing that build, then this one can be kind of useful. Not anything game-changing, but it'll be fine. And so yeah, that is sort of the new patch, the new stuff, the new content. I've been really liking it. I think it's a lot of fun. And we'll see how it plays out in the future. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, let me know. Let me know in the comments how you want to see me play Nenukil. And if you want, you can tune into my stream. I've been streaming a bunch. You can catch me here on YouTube, or you can catch me on Twitch, which is right here. If you want to support me more than just subscribing on the channel, which would be great, here or subscribing here on YouTube, you can hit the join button down below the video and support me there and get some a few benefits here on YouTube and shout out in my videos. So thank you so much to my current members here on YouTube. Let me go take a look at the list really quick, and we can give everyone a shout out who has joined. Because I know a couple of people joined yesterday, so we will give everyone a shout out. Thank you to Axel Monster, Zerv, Stormblast, Nico Bianchi, Nistrian, Jose, Foodiop, GA, and Zephyr MTG. Thank you so much for your support. And it means a lot that you are here and supporting me, and it helps me to continue to make this content. So once again, thank you. And you can catch me more by subscribing here on YouTube. And if you like the video, then you can like down below. Thanks so much. I hope you guys are enjoying the patch, and yeah, I'll be around streaming, and I'll have some videos on the channel coming out soon with my current carry challenge, which should be fun, and we'll have some Nenukil videos coming out soon too. So good time to be into Obelisk, and thanks for watching.